for melodic heavy metal. Playing it heavier, louder, raunchier, faster. This is the Signals of Intuition.
There's Darkened Majesty right there, a brand new solo track from Queensryche singer Todd Torre. He has a brand new solo album called Rejoice in the Suffering that will be coming out on February 5th on Rat Pack Records. You're listening to Signals of Intuition, your home for melodic hard rock and heavy metal. And tonight on the show, we have the singer of that track, Todd Torre, who is the singer of Queensryche and also sang for Crimson Glory in the past as well. Todd has been the singer of Queensryche now for coming up on almost 10 years, having taken over for Jeff Tate in 2012. So let's get Todd on the line right now.
Hello.
Hey, Todd. How's it going? It's Brandon calling from the Signals of Intuition.
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Doing all right.
Yeah, good. Where are you, in Canada?
I am. Yeah, I'm about 15 minutes from Detroit. So, you were in Florida, correct?
Yeah, St. Petersburg.
Okay. Oh, so just outside Tampa.
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Gorgeous beaches there.
Yeah.
I was there probably, 15 years ago or so.
And you know what? I never go. Isn't that how it works?
I can't remember the term for it, but it's basically when you live in an area, you don't notice anything that's going on. You know, you bring in a friend from out of town, they're like, oh, look at this. Why don't you do this? And it's like, that's not part of my life.
Yeah, or it brings it to the forefront of your mind. You're like, I should do some of these things. They're right here.
Oh, that's funny. So when I do these, I always like to start at the beginning of you as a musician and then work our way up to the new album, Rejoice in the Suffering. So starting from the beginning, where did you grow up and how did you get started in music?
Well, I'm from St. Petersburg. I started playing guitar when I was 10 years old. And then at 13, I got my first drum set. And so I kind of focused a lot more on drums. It was just so much more natural for me than guitar. Got into my first band around almost 15 years old, I guess, and then played in original bands and also did covers for years and years. And then, was writing songs, also playing guitar, that kind of thing. Played the Tampa Bay club circuit scene for many, many years. And then I kind of packed up my drums and stopped playing for several years. I just kind of got bored and uninspired. And then a friend of mine plays locally here, doing cover stuff at all the beach bars, and asked if I wanted to play drums and fill in on a gig. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And so I started doing that again for a couple years, several nights a week on the side, and just to keep my chops up, and that was fun. And then I joined Crimson Glory kind of as a fluke in 2000. And when did I join them? 2010, I think.
That was one of my next questions. I know you played with them in 2009 because I saw you and actually met you at Prog Power with the Crimson Glory guys.
Oh.
And at the time, I didn't realize they had a new singer. All I knew was Crimson Glory was bringing on a bunch of singers to do the show, right, for the tribute to Midnight.
Yeah.
And so at the time, obviously, nobody had any idea who you were or what, that would eventually turn into. How did you come to meet those guys and join the band?
So my really good friend named Matt Laporte, he played guitar in Circle to Circle, and he played for John Oliva's Pain. And he was good friend. He knew the guys in Crimson Glory. And I was actually thinking of starting like a tribute band. This was before tribute bands were like everywhere. And I was thinking of doing an Iron Maiden tribute band, and I saw Matt, and I told him about it, and he said, oh, drumming? And I said, no, I think I'm going to give the singing thing a try. Like, I knew I could sing, but I didn't know if I could sing many songs, because I hadn't really developed my mixed voice technique at that time. I was singing a lot more like full belting chest and throat, and I hadn't quite learned how to bridge and sing higher notes without blowing my voice out. So long story short, I did a song with Matt as like a little fun test side thing. And he was really impressed, and he introduced me to the Crimson guys. And then I kind of just started helping them at rehearsals because they had this prog power show with, all these different singers. So I was just kind of like role playing, okay, I'll be this guy when it's his turn to sing. So I was just kind of helping that way. And then after I had helped them, I was asked, hey, do you want to sing? Why don't you kind of participate in that concert? And I was like, wow, really? That'd be great. And so I did that. After the Prog Power show, John Drenning and I stayed in touch, and he asked if I wanted to start writing songs together. So I said, yeah, sure. And then it just kind of morphed into we're writing songs, and that's kind of how I got into Crimson Glory. And it was all through Matt Laporte. And then, of course, I joined the band. We did a couple tours. That opened up all the doors for where I am, or for at least getting the Queensryche thing, because when I met Michael Wilton, there was some YouTube footage that he was able to see of me singing, and he liked what he heard. And yeah, everything kind of took off from there. But the Crimson Glory thing, I was never trying to be the singer of any of that band or really anybody's band. I just was a guy that liked singing and knew a couple local people, and I didn't know it was going to turn into all this.
It's funny because I remember hearing those Queensryche covers as well. I mean, I know they came out slightly before you joined originally Rising West. Was that just more you were a fan and just decided to put the covers up, or had you already met Michael Wilton by that point? Because you met him at NAMM, right? I think it was.
I met him at NAMM, but I think I did one of them prior to me meeting him. I want to say that just for fun, I think I did that before I met him, but then after I met him, he was asking, hey, is there any way you could do, some other older Queensryche songs? He was curious to see, what I would sound like. So I said, okay. And then when I did that, he had shown the other guys and was like, hey, check this guy out that I met at NAMM. And, Queensryche wasn't looking so promising at that point. And so I think that really helped to represent, how I could sound on the older material. And then we did those 2 Rising West shows, and people seemed to kind of flip out over that whole thing.
Well, I'd heard there were people there from Japan and all kinds of stuff,
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there was a girl from Japan. She used to come to a bunch of shows, and yeah, people flew in from all over the place. I couldn't believe it. And we sold out all the merch. And the thing was those shows were already booked and sold out before I ever even met the rest of the guys in the band or even sang one note in a rehearsal. Those shows were already booked and merch was starting to be made. And so Michael really put his you-know-what on the chopping block and basically put all his chips on me, saying, this is the guy that I believe in. And then we did I think 8 or 9 days of rehearsals at Scott's. Yeah, we did those 2 shows, and it was the first time anybody had ever performed with those guys playing Queensryche songs that wasn't the original singer. So it was catching a lot of attention, and of course, I did a fairly good job on those 2 shows, and shit hit the fan with their old singer back then, and I wasn't trying to be the singer for Queensryche. I just met Michael at NAMM, and we talked about doing music, and I didn't know that there was turmoil in the band or things were weird, or I didn't know any of that at that time. Yeah, and here we are. I've been in the band almost in July. It'll be 9 years I've been in Queensryche, if you can believe that.
It's funny because leading up to the interview, I was going, oh my God, how did that turn into 9 years already? Because I swear to God, that still felt like yesterday. I'm as you can guess, a big fan of the band. And at the time, I had done an episode. I have a metal show I do on YouTube, and I did one all about the genius of Operation Mindcrime and what all happened with that record. Mm-hmm. And then I started hearing rumblings of things happening with Tate and what was going on. So I was trying to prepare an episode for what could possibly be happening with Queensryche if you were going to step in. And then out of nowhere, the lawsuit dropped, and that was it. And it's like, okay. So everything just kind of blew up at that point.
Yeah.
How would, just jumping back to the Rising West thing for a minute, I guess I have kind of two questions about that. The first is, was that all the Queensryche normal crew and everybody teching it? And like, was that show kind of sort of like a Queensryche show, or was it sort of a lot of different people involved for that?
No, it was
the Rising West shows.
No, it was the front of house was the front of house guy, and one of the techs who's a production manager now and kind of runs the stage for us. He was there, and a lighting guy was there that's been with the band forever, and they weren't outsiders. They were like Queensryche camp guys.
Oh, okay. And then was the plan originally, once that had happened, did you guys talk about, should we do some more shows, or should we maybe do an album together or whatever? Or did it all just kind of immediately turn into, you're now the guy from Queensryche?
I'm trying to remember, but like when we did those two shows, it was like, it went over really well. It seemed to be very successful. And then I flew back home, and I think we figured, maybe we can do another show or something like that. And then I think Queensryche still had a few shows left to play. And I remember, I think I got a phone call from Michael, or I don't remember exactly how it went down, but then I heard that there was this altercation in Brazil. And I think my timeline is fuzzy because I don't remember if that happened after the Rising West thing or before.
I think it was before, because I could be wrong, but I want to say that was in May that all went down.
Okay.
Because I don't see, that's the thing, is I'm trying to remember what was public and what wasn't at the time too. Because I'm almost certain it was May 2012 that the Brazil thing happened, and then a week later, they played Rocklahoma, I believe. That's when Tate said that, you guys suck. And I watched that live on TV, and I went, what? Like, right.
Yeah, wow.
So,
yeah, again, I didn't know that the House of Cards was crumbling, but yeah, after that, it wasn't long after that, because I think those shows were like in June, the Rising West thing, and then like in July, I think I literally like read on Billboard.com like Todd Torre, the new singer of Queensryche. Like I think I remember saying like, he was fired or something, and then at that point it was like, I think there was a show or something, and they're like, let's go do a show, and I was like, really? Okay. And so I mean, what am I supposed to do? I can say no. So I was like, yeah, let's go do it. Like, we just played a couple shows. Well, let's play what we played. Since we already knew that set, let's just play that set. And then it was like, it just fell into place that way. Yeah, it was weird.
That's unbelievable. What a crazy whirlwind to have, again, you didn't set out to do any of this, and now you're in these two bands singing for them. And I mean, the Queensryche thing, like you say, now turned into 9 years. How was it recording with Jimbo Barton to do that, your first album with Queensryche? Obviously, he's got that massive history with the band. Was he, like, that album, did you guys do as a whole band for the entire recording? Or did... Oh, okay, so you did. How was it having him?
I recorded my own vocals in Florida, and, like, he was working with all the other guys. I mean, I remember being there in the studio for all the drums, pre-production, and everything else, but, I ended up recording all the vocals and sending him all the vocal tracks.
Oh, okay, so all the recording, like, have you done that for all the records now, where you do everything in your own studio?
I did it for that record. I did it for my new record. For the other two Queensryche records I have the same vocal chain that Zeus uses in his studio. So, I mean, really, the same quality of the vocal recordings I have at my place, the same as what I would do at Zeus's studio. But, he's a producer when we have him with Queensryche, and so I usually go to his studio in Massachusetts, and I'll record vocals there. But sometimes there's a really good take or a great scream, or I did something that, like, I'm probably never going to do it any better or as good again. And so if I have those demos, I know that they're album-worthy recordings, so I can always use something from the demo and put that into the main record sessions if we need to. But those records I record at Zeus's. I re-record everything unless there's like something really special that I just say, dude, this is perfect. Like, I'm never going to do this as good ever again in my life. I just happened to get a really good take on this one. Let's use this for the album or something like that.
For sure. Okay, jumping ahead now. So you've got the brand new album, Rejoice in the Suffering, that's coming out in a few weeks on Rat Pack. And I know you've teased a solo record for many years, and I think I saw a video of you like noodling on guitar or something and saying, this is coming in a few years or something to that effect.
Yeah.
But tell me about the writing and recording of this album. You did it with your friend Craig Blackwell, correct?
Yes. When the pandemic, when that whole thing started in March, as far as like, okay, no more shows, we're flying home, things are canceling, I just basically said to him, like, this is the time to really buckle down and get this album done. And so the short version is we had the title track written years ago, and then a little bit of Pretenders, a little bit of a song called Hellbound and Down, and then a little bit of Apology. Hellbound and Down was mostly just like some riffs. Apology, I had a verse and a chorus idea. Pretenders, I just had like verse 1 maybe. Everything else we wrote and recorded in like 4 months.
Oh, well, like, does Craig come up with the guitar parts, or did you like sit down together and collaborate on the whole thing?
Both, you know, a lot of that was Craig's music, like coming, hey dude, I just came up with this, and I'll be like, awesome, that sounds great, keep working on that, or how about this, you know, and then I would put some drums down to it and we would shape up the songs, and it was all of those things that you mentioned. But I would say, you know, a majority of the music parts and the riffs, those were Craig. You know, like Darkened Majesty, I remember, you know, I wrote pretty much most of the guitars for that song, and then he had a cool idea for some rhythms behind the solo. Some of the solos we kind of worked out together. Like I would mouth something, hey, try this, you know, he can play whatever I mouth. And so, you know, we would work on some of that together. We were involved with each other's, with every aspect of it together. You know, if I was like, hey, I need a vocal melody, I'm kind of stumped here. And he's like, you know, how about this? Or if he was stumped on a guitar thing, I would say, hey, why don't you try this? So it was constantly like both of us 50-50 and everything.
That's very cool. And on this album, too, I mean, you explore a number of other styles. I mean, there's a few songs that wouldn't honestly sound out of place on a Queensryche album, and then there's other songs that are either straight up, like, I don't know, Black Label Society type stuff, or, you know, I mean, there's stuff drawing from black metal, death metal, modern metal. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, Darkened Majesty, when I first heard that, I said, okay, so here's the 11th track on Painkiller that we never got, you know, so...
Yeah, it's the record it definitely shows other styles of what I'm capable of doing that people will never get to hear with what I do in Queensryche. So, and I'm not going to do like any kind of gutturals on a Queensryche thing. I'm not going to sing in that screechy way on Queensryche stuff. And I like, you know, the crunchy Mesa boogies and a little more of the metal style of drumming, you know, and that's not appropriate for Queensryche. So I don't want to try to throw what I've done on this record into like the Queensryche music, because it just, I don't think that's Queensryche. So yeah, it's definitely has that diversity, but it still sounds like a full playable continuous record. In particular, tracks 1 through 10. 11, 12, and 13 were bonus tracks. At that time we were like, oh, maybe we'll have a separate track for Japan and one for Europe and one for the States. And at the end of the day, we're like, you know what? We're just going to put everything out and everybody can hear it all. But, you know, really like the main album, I like to consider 1 through 10. And then the other 3 are just extra goodies for whatever.
That's exactly, yeah, because 13, I mean, I would almost consider like a straight up black metal song. And it is sort of a bit of an outlier to the rest of the, I mean, even 11... I'm blanking on the name right now. I just kind of know them as numbers because I burned a CD and just threw it in the car, and it's been cycling that way.
Yeah.
That one, again, has sort of an almost Queensryche. So, like you say, the bonus tracks are almost kind of, each track is sort of jumps off the record a bit more, for sure.
Yeah, and like track 13, like I have other songs that are written more in that melodic death black metal style, which I really like. And so I've got some other stuff that's really awesome. And so kind of track 13, in my opinion, was kind of like where the next record will pick up is kind of where this record stops. So the next one that I do is going to be more in that darker vein, although there will be singing on it too. Kind of my gut feeling now is that I just want to write what I want to write. And I would like to go even heavier and darker, kind of like what parts of One by One sound like. I really like that. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Like, what are some of your other influences outside of, the Queensryche, the melodic part of metal? Like, what other type of stuff do you listen to?
Oh, God. I mean, just music in general. I love flamenco. Like, I like Struns and Farah. I like a lot of the 70s singer-songwriter stuff. I love stuff like Ambrosia and Level 42 and some of the 80s poppy stuff. I like Billy Joel, Heart, Fleetwood Mac, Steely Dan, Stevie Ray Vaughan. But I also like Opeth. I like Behemoth. I like Gojira. There's different stuff.
Were you influenced a lot by the Florida death metal scene too?
Not really. I mean, not particularly. No. I mean, I know all those bands are from here. Obituary and Death and Deicide and like all that kind of stuff. But I wasn't a huge death metal fan in that sense with like all the constant blast beats. I like more of the groove with the gutturals. So I always like the more melodic stuff, like, Dimmu Borgir. I like them. They do blast beat and stuff, but that's symphonic. But like Behemoth, they've got like some really good groove stuff that happens. And whatever the song makes me feel like that's kind of what I want to do, what I do.
Sure.
The vocal approach.
So besides Rejoice in the Suffering, what else can we expect from you? Are there plans for another Queensryche? You kind of mentioned you want to do another solo record as well.
Well, right now, Michael Wilton is at my house. He's in the other room, actually.
That's so
great. Yeah, they're having breakfast. And Zeus is here, and Casey lives about 35 minutes away. So he'll be here this afternoon. And so we're doing like just songwriting sessions and coming up with new ideas for the next Queensryche album. And so Michael had a little gap. He was able to break away and come down here to Florida. And I said, yeah, come on down. And Zeus was like, dude, I should come down too. And I said, yeah, just come hang here and we can work on music. And Casey can come over and get on my drums and we can just jam ideas. Parker is super busy right now in Seattle with his guitar shop, and Eddie, he's at home doing songwriting too. So instead of having like a million people at my house, it was just like, okay, Michael, come down, Zeus, come down. If Casey wants to stop by a few days during that time period or every day, like whatever he wants to do. So he's been really awesome contributing to all these ideas in real time. So we're working on a new Queensryche record, and, I'll do another solo record as well. We're still shut down, so it's not like there's any touring happening right now. So this is the really kind of the ideal time to get the creativity going. I mean, for a long time, everyone's just kind of like, what the hell's going on in the world? You get a mask up everywhere. You can't do this. You can't do that. And just trying to like understand life during that whole initial shutdown. And I don't know, I think after 10 months of being bottled up, it's just like, okay, I need to see my buddies, and when Michael decided to come down, I saw his face. I was like, oh man, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in 10 months, so yeah, all kinds of stuff happening.
Oh, that's fantastic. By the way, the voice quality sounds awesome. Are you using your like proper vocal mic for this?
No, I'm on my laptop.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah. The sound quality is...
No, I use an Asus. I'm literally like laying in my bed. I just have my laptop open and whatever mic the laptop has built in it. That's it.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, it works great. So there's your interview solution right there. That's perfect.
Yeah, right on. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks for the interview and thanks, the time. And I hope you like the record and tell all your friends and check it out. And yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No, I've been spinning it for the last week, and every song is something different. I feel like every time I listen, I've got a new favorite, so
Awesome.
I've really enjoyed it. Looking forward to what you and the guys come up with next for Queensryche and your next solo record. So my hat's off on a great record.
Thanks, Brandon. I really appreciate that.
All right. Thanks so much, Todd.
All right.
Take it easy.
Okay,
Stay
bye.
safe out there.
Have a good day. Thanks.
Right.
Bye.